Hi, it's Pastor Heather from Berkeley Hills Lutheran Church, and I am so glad for all the questions people sent in. I want to try and answer some of those right now. So Deb asked where my favorite vacation place is, and I honestly have to say the beach. I tell my kids all the time that I photosynthesize. I need to be out in the sun, and what better place than with the waves and the sand and the family. So definitely love the beach. And Carol asked what I like to do for relaxation. So besides laying in the sun out on the beach, I like to hike and read. Um, I like to garden. I'm not great at it, but I like to, it just gets me outside. So anything outside or with my family. Kelly and Katie are both interested in why there's a duck in my arms in the picture with this post. And it's kind of a long story, but in reality, when ducks show up, you just have to hug them. And so we had a couple summers where the ducks were laying eggs in our church area, and they hatched like 13 baby ducks, which were adorable. But once they grew up, they were too big for the space for where they were living. And so we gently took them outside and set them free. But they're adorable, and I love ducks. Emily posted several questions, and I want to start with what to do to get rid of her ground bees. Now, in my mind, those are yellow jackets, which are mean and ferocious. And so my first answer would be to move to another country and get away from them. But if you can't do that, I noticed that a lot of her friends said, oh, pour gasoline down there and set it on fire. I don't know that I recommend that. If you've ever seen Caddyshack, Bill Murray put explosives down the groundhog holes and blew up the golf course. I don't recommend that. But, I was thinking about a biblical story where Elijah challenges 450 prophets of Baal to call down fire from their God as they make a sacrifice, and it didn't work. And then Elijah set up the sacrifice, even had people pour water all over the wood and the altar and the sacrifice. And yes, God sent fire down upon the sacrifice. And one of the lines there is, call upon the name of the Lord. Let's see who answers with fire. That is God. So you could try fire. But I think it's better to phone a friend in at this point. Emily also asked questions about the formation of the Bible, like why are some books in the Bible and some are not? And there's a long history to the Bible, over 4,000 years, 40 different authors at least, and 66 separate books contained within the Bible. We have to understand that even before things were written down, a lot of the Old Testament stories were being passed around orally by telling stories at the family dinner, at community gatherings, and shared between communities. And then at some point, someone said, we need to preserve these stories because they're stories of our faith and our relationship with God. So they wrote them down. And then eventually, all those books were gathered together into first the Old Testament and then the New Testament, which is the part after Jesus. So it's not until 367 AD that we actually get the first full list of the books included in the Bible that we still have today. It took time to circulate the books and have them be generally accepted by the church, and then to be put together into this 66 book library, essentially. The characteristics that they were looking for was authenticity. Is it authoritative? Does it speak the language of the church? Does it tell the story of how we understand God's relationship and God's work with us? Are the books complete? And is there an acceptable theology included? So, is this God's word to us, or is it something else? Not all the books written in time were included. You get things like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. The things that may have excluded them would be questionable or unknown origin. They don't know where they're from or who wrote them. Or a lot of them were not complete manuscripts. There's fragments, and it doesn't tell the whole story. They can't work with where there's holes missing. And questionable dating. If you read the text, they give clues to kind of say what time they were written, and a lot of them that weren't included, they didn't prove to be dated according to when the story was being told. The other question was about the Apocrypha. This is a set of books between the Old Testament and the New Testament, so it's called intertestamental. These books were written between 200 BC and 400 AD, and they're not in the canon or the approved set of books in the Bible for a lot of reasons, but they're preserved and used even today for instruction of the faithful in the church. Finally, Jackie asked, which stained glass window in the choir loft do I like best? And there's a beautiful two sets of brightly colored stained glass windows that were made by members in the 60s or 70s. And the one side represents symbols for each of the disciples, the 12 disciples. The other includes symbols for the 4 Gospels and the life of the church. And I think the one I like best is the one that most people never see, because it's down low, it's behind the choir pew, and it is a beautiful rendering of grapes and bread representing the sacrament of Holy Communion. And for me, this represents how God feeds us in body and spirit for life now and life forever, and holds within it those amazing promises that God gives to us. So thanks for your questions. Somebody else asked me out to lunch, and to that I say yes. And if you have more questions, send them in. Love talking with you. Take care. Bye.